Showdown.
Yes,
Bum, 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 bum,
that
bum,
time
bum,
of the
bum.
show.
It is indeed. Raish Al Ghul
Mm.
versus Gorilla Grodd
It's gonna be
in the the DC villain final,
yes.
and it is our last quarter final.
It is.
Raish has got here as the number 1 seed, beating out Cheetah and Poison Ivy on the way, both of whom obviously had advantages against him. Gorilla Grodd has got here as the 3rd seed, beating out Mr. Freeze, who had an advantage against him, and Lex Luthor, who he had an advantage against. Obviously, there are no advantages at this late stage of the bracket.
There is not.
It's an interesting one. You've got the Demon's Head, Ra's al Ghul, versus a telepathic gorilla. Comic books are fucking wild.
Yeah, they are. We've had some wild matchups.
Yeah, it's just saying the man who has a little pit that stops him dying, fighting a telepathic gorilla.
And the master of all martial arts.
It's funny to me, I'll be honest. What I want to look at is he's enhanced, yeah. He's very smart, yeah. Martial arts, yeah. Is he still susceptible to telepathic assaults?
Didn't you say highly intelligent people, though, it's harder for Gorilla Grodd?
Yes, but that doesn't mean it might just mean Gorilla Grodd can jumble him up a little bit to make it more difficult for him to think clearly.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm searching. I say he's probably not completely immune, but because he's more intelligent, it will be more difficult for Gorilla Grodd.
Yeah.
But do we think that he can... What's the word? Do we think that he can just kind of throw him off tilt a little? Because you got to remember, Raish's whole thing is he's very smart. He thinks things through. Are we saying that Gorilla Grodd can use his telepathic abilities to just make it so he can't think as clearly?
Potentially.
Because I give him a fair chance against the gorilla if he can think clearly. Because he is so adept with his sword.
This is the thing. I think if he thinks clearly, his martial arts and fighting knowledge of all different styles, like, I feel like he can take a gorilla down. Not really much problem. Because he'll know, oh, these are the best martial art moves, like, of how a gorilla will fight and like how to be, like, he knows how to use its own strength against it and that sort of thing. But I think with what you're saying, like, if Gorilla Grodd can scramble his brain a bit and like he does it just to the point where like he's not able to think straightly about like what moves and martial arts he should be using, it could very easily be that Gorilla Grodd socks him one and that completely throws him off.
Yes,
like,
and
let's be honest,
that's what we need to make our decision on.
Ra's al Ghul is got the pit, but it doesn't really make him much stronger than...
He is enhanced speed, strength, and agility, but that's just going to mean he's slightly beyond peak human condition.
He's not like superhuman. So taking a right hook from a gorilla ain't going to be nice for him.
No.
I think there's some situations where Ra's al Ghul wins because he gets in enough blows that like throws Gorilla Grodd off.
Yeah, here's the thing. Raish will by default obviously have his sword. He might just go death by 1,000 cuts with it.
True.
And then there's a real chance that Grodd can't scramble his brain enough to do anything other than put Raish on the back foot. And if Raish is on the back foot, he will just do that. He'll let the guy lunge at him and just slice, slice, slice.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Yes, Ra's al Ghul is like relies on his intelligence, but at that level of like martial arts, when you are that highly skilled, you're not using your like, it's second nature. Like, he doesn't need
memory. You don't have to think.
No. So I actually think I'm actually leaning to Ra's al Ghul wins purely based on that. Like, even if he scrambles his head, he just doesn't fall into muscle memory, and he might take a few extra hits, but like like you say, death by a thousand cuts.
Okay, I can back that. I can absolutely back that.
I just think his fighting prowess is enough to tackle to take on a gorilla, even by
Yeah,
just pure muscle memory.
yeah. And Grodd does have a bit of an ego about him, so he'd probably just see what appears to be a relatively old, frail man, and probably his ego would get him fucked up as well.
Yeah, I can see that.
Um, so there we go. We have our two semi-finals. In
Mm,
our Marvel semi-final, we have Ghost Rider versus Ultron.
which is gonna be interesting.
And in our DC final, we have Swamp Thing versus Ra's al Ghul.